All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Bridgman here from the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle, and today I have something very, very special for you. I have somebody, she's waiting in the back wings right now, she's waiting to come on stage, who is one of the most profound brain rewiring thinkers that I've ever met in my life. She is so awesome. I've been waiting to do this interview, and her and I can get into the story. We've been trying to do this interview a number of times, and literally the craziest shit has gotten in the way of this making it happen. So we are excited to bring you today the incredible genius brain rewiring. Wow, that one's hard to say, Mindy. Mindi Huebner. Mindy, welcome to the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
It's all good. I'm so excited to have you here because we have been talking back and forth for probably 2 months now, or a little longer, to get things on the schedule. And to be flat out honest with my audience, it's like on the 17th we were supposed to do the interview. I was really sick and it didn't work out. And then a few weeks later or a month later, we wanted to do it. Suddenly the septic system here at my store, it had to get pumped. And they were supposed to come in the morning, but they showed up there like 10 minutes before the interview. And the truck is parked just outside my office. And anyway, it was wild and wacky. But we're here now.
We are. Yes. And it was. I laughed because it was literal shit that got in the way.
Yeah, literal. Yeah. So it's funny. Anyway, such is what it is. But we are here now, and we are going to dive into a topic that so many people struggle with. So whether you are a parent, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are just a phenomenal human being on this planet that wants to get more traction with what you want to do, this is an episode that you are going to want to watch, because Mindy struggled with the thing that so many of us struggle with, and she found a way around it, and she's going to share with us a whole bunch of those details. Because, Mindy, you were successful. You had all this great stuff going for you, right? She has over 25 plus years in the coaching and training industry, so she was successful, and then suddenly 2016 hits, and you run into a roadblock of roadblocks, and a lot of it was up here, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was in direct sales for 17 years and my division closed. And so I had this beautiful opportunity to take some stock, which we don't always get.
Yeah.
And I realized pretty quickly that I had been operating in a way that was no longer sustainable. And I had probably ramped it up the more successful I got in my career. And it was under a limiting belief that rest was lazy. And
wow. Okay.
Rest was lazy. So any high achiever, overachiever, type A, like their brains are going, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. mine right now in this moment. I'm having one of those moments right now. Yep.
Yeah, rest was lazy, which a limiting belief is any belief that limits you from like the full expression of you, the full expansion of you, all those good things, right? And so it was limiting me from being able to actually sit on a couch and not feel guilty about it, and not feel like I was wasting time, and not feel like I could be doing something more productive. It was limiting me from the actual truth that rest breeds productivity and rest breeds creativity. And I was so fascinated by this and by the habits that showed up, because you think a thought over and over again, it becomes a belief, it becomes an I am, and then you're so powerful, you create habits to prove it to yourself. You're always winning the game you're playing. Like this is how amazing we are as humans and how powerful. And so not only realizing I had this limiting belief and wanting to figure out how to stop thinking this, how to start thinking something more helpful to me, also realizing I've got a ton of habits that support this. Like I am proving myself right.
That make this real, right? That make this real. Yeah. Okay. And so and I love that. So you and I talked about this before, but I love this idea of we're always winning the game that we're playing. To me, that's just, you and I talked about this a few months ago. When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good, because it's absolutely true. Whether you're winning the game of self-flagellation, like you're really good at kicking your own ass, and telling yourself about how, oh, I took a day off, or I took an afternoon off, and now I'm going to like whip myself because I did. Like, you're going to win that game. If that's the game you want to play, you're going to win it. If you're going to win the game of, I'm a 65 hour per week, 70 hour per week worker, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that's how I validate myself, you're probably going to win that game too.
Exactly.
Right. So no matter what, I love that idea that you're always winning the game that you're playing. So then a big part of what you must do for clients then is establish what is the game you want to play.
Exactly.
Right? Because if you're going to win, you might as well play the game you want to play. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, recognizing that habits are driving us subconsciously, I dove into, how do we create habits? How does this work? Like, what makes me think these things, and how can I rewire my brain? And so with a client, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to avoid? What's the aligned action that
Right.
we want to take? And so many times, knowing what we don't want is much easier and comes much quicker than being able to articulate exactly what we do want.
Yeah.
If you really start listening to people, you'll hear them speak in knots a lot.
Sure.
So I was just speaking to a client recently, and she wants to embody abundance and contentment, as opposed to striving and hustling. I help clients stop the hustle mentality, which I knew intimately because it was how I lived. And I said to her, okay, well, when you're living in abundance, when you're living in contentment, when you are content, what will you be doing? How will you know? What will it feel like? And she gave me a list of things that it's not. Well, I won't be doing this and I won't be doing that. And I said, okay, beautiful. Now flip that over.
Okay.
What will you be doing? We can get super clear on what we don't want, who we don't want to be, how we don't want to show up, what we don't want to feel, what we don't want to experience. And articulating what we do want is a little bit trickier sometimes.
And so why do you think people struggle with that? Why do you think that is that we run into this? Like, it should be obvious, shouldn't it? Like, it should be relatively simple. But you're right. We do. Like, even myself, I find myself at times going, what do I really want out of this situation? Or, you go through a change in life. And like when my son was born 6.5 years ago, it was a real eye opener to going, oh my gosh, what do I actually want? What do I want this to be? And a lot of what I was striving for before then changed. I was like, no. This is going to shift to being about a dad. And those other things, they actually aren't what I want at all. Right? They were like temporary placeholders, right?
Exactly.
So how do you help people find this, what they want? And why do you think it's such a challenge? And let's start with that. Why do you think we have such a problem defining what we want, where we like to wind up?
Truly, in my opinion, it's because our brains, and this part is not opinion, but why we stick there is, our brains are like Velcro for negativity and Teflon for positivity. We are wired to keep ourselves safe, right? Your brain is the same brain that was, running from like bears and tigers.
Sure.
Like it hasn't evolved past that.
Yeah.
And while you use it differently, ultimately that survival of knowing the dangers and clinging on to the negative, right? And not like negative positive. We're not talking about, oh, everything's love and light, like not that kind of negative positive, like unhelpful to helpful, disempowered to empowered. So since it's
just to rephrase, then what you're basically saying is that we're kind of wired primarily to be identifying the things that are scary, that we don't want, as opposed to things that we do, because the whole premise is that we want to live as long as possible.
Exactly.
Living happy, fulfilled, thrilled is not. That's a caveat to the equation. The caveat is, or the real full crux of it, is that you and me, our wiring says stay alive.
Yes.
And how you do that is entirely irrelevant. The idea is to stay alive.
and it's stay alive in the way that you're already programmed, that you're in the
Ah,
habit of
okay,
showing
sure.
up in your, well, so I call this your known zone.
Right. Your
So
comfy chair.
and it's not even comfy, right? Like it truly is not. It's just known. You know who
Right.
to be there, how to be there, you know how to show up, you know what to say, what not to say, you know all the things. You are in the habit of being you, and you are in the habit of being in your known zone. And
Hence
so
why Mindy and I were just talking to you guys about this, about a coffee shop that opened up recently in my local area, and they made crappy coffee, right? And I had a cup of coffee from there today, and I was like, this isn't that good. And so I'm going to go to the known place where I know I really like the coffee on a regular basis because I know exactly what I'm going to get, right?
yeah.
It's the known zone.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. So knowing that our brains are Velcro for negativity, Teflon for positivity, that we operate in survival, in living, and that 95% of what we do is dictated by our subconscious, and
sure.
5% is in our conscious brain.
Yeah,
Now we are learning to move towards something as opposed to away from something. So the not version, what I don't want, how I don't want to feel, that's us moving away from the known. There's a difference in the energies. We're moving away from our known. I know that I don't like this, I know that I don't like that. And we want to flip that to moving toward what gets to be the new normal, toward the expansion. And that's when we say what we do want, so that we can
right.
then call that in, because the way
Invited in, yeah.
your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on what you believe.
Hmm.
Deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on what you believe. It has to. So many bits of data are coming at you in a given in let's see, I think it's over 2 million bits per second of information, of data
Right.
is coming at you. You could not possibly, you would be that brain exploding emoji,
Totally.
right?
And what Mindy's getting at, everybody, is that we're like, it's what every cell of your skin is feeling. It's what is going in and out of your nose. It's the smells that you're smelling, but you're not computing because you don't have time to compute them because your brain is focused on watching this YouTube show. Thank you for watching. And like it's all those different things. It's the way your hair feels. It's the way your stomach is moving and the way your heart is moving up and down. And like all of that stuff is sensory input. All the stuff on our peripheral vision, everything we're hearing, like the fish tank that's over here and all the stuff, it's all coming in. So 2 million bits of information. And our brain is so powerful, it's basically filtering it down to, you need to focus on just this show. That's it.
Yes, it literally takes this 2 million bits, and we can take it about 5 to 7 chunks
Sure.
a day of information. And so we have got to have filtering systems that help us filter out the things that we don't need to think about, don't want to think about, right? Delete,
Yep.
distort, and generalize based on our beliefs, as well as you have a RAS, a reticular activating system. And this brings in what you anticipate and what you expect. So here's where
Mm-hmm.
you're winning the game you're playing again, right? If you expect it to be difficult, you will see all the ways that it is going to be difficult.
Yep.
If you expect there to be some ease in it, you will be able to expand that filter to find more solutions or more ways of finding more ease in something.
What I love about what you just said, Mindy, is that, and I think everybody has experienced this, but I remember experiencing exactly what you're talking about when it came to performance and acting, because that's what I did as my first professional career. And I was one of these animals that would just, like, I could get into the rehearsal space and I would show up at 8 a.m. and it would be 11 o'clock at night and everybody else is going, we're done. Like, we're going home. We're not going to do the scene for the 78th time tonight, Michael. And I'm like, oh, but I have a new idea. To me, the time was like the fact that I'd been there for 12 and a half, 13 and a half, 15 hours. It just didn't make any difference to me. Right. I was just an animal for this. And it was like, as you just put it, right? What we're focusing on, how we're channeling this information, what we're taking in, it's so based on what it is that you want, right? And that allows you to stay incredibly focused.
and you were clear on what you wanted. See, there's the magic, right?
Yeah.
You were clear on what you wanted.
Yeah.
Where from what you just said, the other people were really clear on what they didn't want and they didn't want to do it anymore,
They
right?
didn't
And
want to do it
so
anymore. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when we can get crystal clear on what we want, and this is vital, like knowing what we want so deeply, we go 7 whys deep. We get super clear on it so that
Okay.
it's so compelling. We are showing up as the human who is, I call it casting votes, me and James Clear, casting votes
Yeah.
towards that version, right, of us more often than not. If what we want is nebulous and it's not clear,
Yeah.
how can we show up as the human who is going there?
I love it. And so let's talk a little bit about the fact that I think a lot of people spend too much time, and maybe you can agree or disagree with me on this one, Mindy, but too much time focusing on their past versions, their past situations. And I used to do a weekly coaching to a group of people, and every 8 weeks we would circulate the topics. So it was 8 topics, and we'd circulate them, and we'd always come back to this one because people tend to need it often. And it's that I would use the analogy that it's like we are literally standing in a stream facing downstream, not upstream. And the life is passing by, and we're looking at all the stuff that's passing us and reaching out and trying to grab it and hang on to it. And we're not noticing, the tugboat coming along that's about to run us over. We're not noticing any of this stuff. And if we do, the future, when we do turn around, we don't define it. So it's all misty and murky. And so we tend to go, I don't know what this is. So what do? We turn our asses around and we look back at the thing that we know, which is our past. And I use this analogy all the time to indicate that if we don't define the future that we want to attract down this river towards us, right? And I always use the idea that it's a river because people attract things to them. The pursuit, like that, I'm out and I'm chasing down or I'm hunting this new version of myself. I don't find, to me personally, that energy to be all that helpful because I feel like it's far away from me all the time. But if I'm attracting it to me, it's something that's zeroing in. It's getting closer and closer and closer to me all the time. And it was amazing because so many people go, oh my gosh, you're right. Because I'm so focused on what my business partner did to me 6 months ago. It's so crystal clear and it's so gritty and so right in my teeth. I'm hanging on to it. The river keeps trying to pull it away, but I'm like, oh shit, no, I'm hanging on to this pile of crap. I'm not letting this sucker go, right? And they're hanging on for dear life. And otherwise, a lot of people go, no, let it go, turn around, attract the next best thing that's coming down the river. So I don't know what you think of that analogy, but I would always explain to people, like, you're standing in this river of life and stuff is coming. And if you keep looking downriver and hanging on to the things that are supposed to be floating away from you, you will never see this brilliant, beautiful future that you could have channeled towards you, but you're so busy focused on the past, you never even noticed it was up there.
And part of that is a protection.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Right.
if I stop being the person who's focused on the past, if I stop being the person, if I stop being in my known zone of hanging on to anger, regret, any of those things, like the business partner, like all those things. First of all, if I stop being that person, who the hell will I be? I don't know that person, and I'm afraid, right?
Correct.
And the other protection is, well, if I focus on the future and I define it, what if it doesn't happen? What if I don't know how to do it? What if? And we talk ourselves into staying in the known because we know what happens there. We know who to be there. And you're
So how do
powerful.
so how do we inspire courage then? How do we kick people's, because I mean, this is obviously a big part of, oh, I apologize for my dog. This has got to be a big reason why, I mean, you have such a great practice, but what is it then that inspires that courage, and what type of spark can we routinely give people? How do we get them out of this doldrum?
Well, first, we really do encourage dreaming and this clarity of what could be. If you could wave a magic wand and it would be whatever you wanted it to be, what would it be? And
Yeah.
let's really get clear on that. If you're sitting on a beach, how does the sand feel between your toes?
Right.
And is the glass dripping condensation onto your leg? And can you smell the sunscreen and the ocean spray? Like, let's, because we still haven't tapped into our subconscious, but our subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings. And so we want to call that in. And the reason we want to call it in so clearly and dream so vividly and succinctly is because we get to act as if right now we
Mm-hmm.
can right now start casting votes towards that dream, that outcome, that vision
Yeah.
right now in tiny little ways to build that self-esteem and to build that self-confidence. We start flexing that courage muscle. we
Right.
start we start flexing that when we cast those tiny votes towards, okay, so that person that's sitting on the beach, why are they sitting on the beach? Well, because they know how to relax. Well, why is that important? Well, because, and we just get so deep into that why, those 7 whys deep, that then we can go, oh, so they create a routine that supports them so that they can show up their best in their business and in their families. And so then we reverse engineer that. Oh, so they get insert number of hours of sleep here. Well, I can do that
Mm.
right now. I can
Mm-hmm.
start casting those votes right now. They
Mm-hmm.
create a schedule for themselves. They stop work at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever time that is. Okay, great. You can be that person right now. You can start casting votes right now and calling that in. It's called acting as if, right?
Yep. Well, and so it's funny going back to the acting thing. I love this because the Stanislavskian method acting, which you've probably heard of, right? A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
method actors.
Mm-hmm.
One of the primary ability, like skills or tools to use, is what they call the magic if. He literally calls it the magic if, right? Ask yourself, what if you'd lost your leg in the war and you were stuck in a wheelchair for the last 7 years and this just happened to you? How would you feel? Like literally the actor is diving into their creative energy, not to actually do the thing, like not to strap themselves to a chair for the next 6 months to know what it feels like, but it's to pretend,
Exactly. Imagine.
right?
Yes.
Imagine.
Yes. Yes.
And so like there's a, I'm sure you've heard of the fake it till you make it, right? There's this
I
concept.
have
And
heard of that.
I actually and now that saying really bugs me. Really bugs me. So I'm more of a believer in be it till you are it. That's the way I like to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that marries up with what you're saying, right? Like be the person that has these things. Be the person that does these things. Be the person that does, have the sleep pattern that you're looking for. Be the person that does let go of their work at 5 o'clock and not have to bring it home with them. Be the person, because one day you're going to wake up and that's going to turn out to be your pattern. Right?
Exactly. We call this be, do, have. And that's where we act as if. So the world gets it backwards. Well, there have, be, do, right? Once I have all these things, right, then I can be this person. I can do the things that this person would do.
Yeah.
Once I have the business, once I have the relationship, once I have the finances. Well, it doesn't work that way. Right? Because then we just get stuck in the known and in the familiar.
Absolutely.
If we be, do, have, if we become that person, and again casting those votes that we can right now. If I'm going to be a millionaire, okay, I'm not spending money necessarily in this moment like a millionaire. However, what other things are happening? I can read what the millionaire version of myself will be reading.
Sure.
Again, I can schedule, I can care for myself and my family in that way. I can create that container. I can romance my money. No matter how much I have, I can take care of it because that's what I'm going to do when I'm a millionaire. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
would if we were going on a date, me and money, would money want to date me?
Yeah,
If I'm
yeah,
going to be a
exactly.
millionaire, right? This is like seriously. This
It's
is,
true.
and so
Yeah.
you're rewiring your brain. All those things are rewiring your brain, creating new neural pathways about what you get to do, who you get to be, how you get to show up more often than not.
I love it. And it's so great because these are so practical such practical ideas we need to put in place right away. And in order to help facilitate that practicality, I want to ask, what are some of the cues that you hear? Because I think you and I would agree that words have weight,
So much.
right? They're the tip of the iceberg about how somebody thinks, you know. And I mean, once again, I've got dipping into acting stuff all over the place. As an actor, you didn't get anything. You didn't get gestures. You didn't get, he raises his hand or, his voice goes up. None of that stuff is in a script. All you have is the words. Like when you read a piece of Shakespeare, there's no acting indications. All you have is the words. And so I think the words that we use, the words that we use in our own brains, whether they come out of your mouth or not, my friend, they are there. We know this, right? Those words are indicative of a pattern of thought. So what are some of these cues then that you listen for that are clear indicators that someone is living in their past? They're in a complete relationship with a person that, aka themselves, that doesn't serve them, right?
Yes.
And so what are some of the words that you hear so that the audience can go, oh gosh, I'm using that word. I need to rewire this.
I would say should. Should is a could with shame smeared on it, right?
Right.
Quit
Yeah.
shoulding all over yourself.
We're shooting all over ourselves. Yep.
Yes. Have to. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this.
Love it. Yeah.
And even in some cases, need to. There's
Okay.
different levels of need. And a word I would ask you to ditch almost across the board. It has its occasional place, is the word but. When you are in conversation with someone,
And we're talking single T, not double
single
T,
T,
right? Yeah.
single T, which still can be very big. Actually, it's a bigger butt than the butt with two T's, because it stops. Like it's a big butt, and it stops everything when we're having
all mental traffic is stopped by the big butt.
It's seriously when you were talking about fake it till you make it, right? I could have said, "Oh, I hear what you're saying, Michael, but I think XYZ." Okay, but just negated everything that you said in front of that. And so I really listen to how often people butt me. And I know that they don't even, it's habit for them. They don't even know. And so instead, I hear what you're saying, Michael. And in my experience, and here's what I found. And opens, it's so expansive. It's so empowered. It allows, but stops, and allows so much more in there. I know now we have this vision of somebody with a big old butt stopping us, right?
They're just your big butt just squashed all my ideas.
Exactly.
I love it. So okay, so should have to, need to, but anything else?
Well, for should, instead of shoulding on ourselves, I love the word swap. So these are super practical ways to just start rewiring when you recognize these words and catch yourself, instead of, I should have done this, I should have done that. From now on, in the future, next time.
Okay.
This is, again, rewiring your brain to see the possibility, to see the magic the if that serves you, as opposed to the one that doesn't, the one that shuts you down. So, I should have shown up 5 minutes earlier. From now on, in the future, next time, I'm going to make the space to show up 5 minutes earlier, right? I should have practiced more. I should have thought about what I was going to say. Next time, from now on, I'm going to remember that. It just allows you to, first of all, be a human.
Yeah.
And it allows you to really build your self-esteem and build your self-confidence, because you're not guilting and shaming and putting yourself down for whatever that is. You're going, oh, look at that. I'm a human and I can be more aware next time. And so next time gets to be this. And the have to, and lots of people talk about this, and just listening to yourself say the things that you have to do can be really eye-opening to get to. Like you get to. There's very few things that you truly, when it comes down to it, have
Have
to
to
do.
do. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah.
Lots of them are choice. And I remember the moment that this sort of like I had a V8 moment with a client where she was saying, oh, I have to go pick up my kids. And it just really struck me. And I said to her, well, don't you want to? Like, do you
Mm,
like them? And I was teasing her. And at the same time, she goes, well, of course I want to. I go, okay, well, let's change the energy in that. Like
yeah.
this is something that you get to do, not you have to do. And all of a sudden, like, so much expansion in that. And there's no shame, there's no shade being thrown. This is we are so programmed to speak this way, we don't realize how much energy those words steal from us, how
And
much
it's
possibility they steal.
totally right. And it's fascinating because as you just said, right, it is and I use this all the time with my teams and who I'm coaching. It's that it's not your fault where you have found yourself in this moment. Like that's not necessarily your fault. But after this conversation, aka after this, this particular episode, those who are watching us live, we have a bunch of people watching live, which is really awesome. So thank you guys for watching. Um, After this, it's now your responsibility, right? Where you are at the moment might not be your fault. But now that Mindy's given you some of these tools, like how to change the shoulds, how to change the have tos and the need tos and the buts, like what to do with that, now it becomes your responsibility. That rather than Michael say, oh my gosh, I have to change my daughter's diaper again, right? She's 2, by the way. It's like, I get to do this
Yeah,
because I have a 2-year-old daughter and she's incredible. And there's lots of people on this planet that don't have 2-year-old daughters for
exactly,
whatever reason. So
exactly.
I think it isn't our fault. I think quite often it's great to recognize that where you wind up might not be your fault, but how you move forward from there is your responsibility.
You get to be, I call it elevated awareness.
Yeah.
You get to, and let's be honest, you're going to find yourself, even once you have now become aware of it, you are in the habit of doing this. And
Hmm.
so you're going to find yourself doing it again.
Sure.
And that is when you get to say to yourself, oh, okay, well, who am I being and who do I get to be? Who do
Yeah.
I want to be? Right? What would feel like moving towards something in this moment as opposed to, right, like moving away from what I want.
Yeah.
The other word swap, and this one has really like made a big difference for many clients. I need to essential. And so,
Mm.
oh, I need to do this in business, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to get this done, I need to get that done. This is essential to creating the funnel that I want. This is now you're training your
Mm.
brain into like prioritizing
Okay.
and really recognizing, oh, well, I take care of what's essential. There's not just this huge list of the things I need to do because need is very heavy. Now, if we're talking need like desire, like, oh, I need a vacation, like I desire this vacation,
Right.
I desire to sit on the beach, different kind of need,
And a
right?
desire is a better word anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. Love it. So now you have been in the entrepreneurial game for 25 plus years,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How do you find entrepreneurs? Because this is a marketing show, obviously. How do you define what they're running into specifically when it comes to this stuff, uniquely to what you do? In other words, what's the relationship that you find between this mindset, mastery, as you call it, and like understanding your patterns of behaviors and entrepreneurial success? Because there's a lot of business owners that have taken a huge leap of courage. Like they've done things that a lot of other people would never do. They're risking a lot. Therefore, they already think that they're on way further down this path, but they're still running into some of these patterns that aren't serving them, or they still feel stuck or plateaued in their business. How does this work specifically apply to them, Mindy?
This is for when they are showing up and they have done the strategies, the
Yeah.
ad strategy, the marketing strategy, the sales strategy, the external strategies, and they're plateauing. Then it's time to say, oh, it's an internal strategy. I
Mm-hmm.
have given meaning to something that I didn't realize, and it is stopping me.
Mm.
I have made this mean this. I have a limiting belief. If you're not sure what your limiting belief is, and we have lots of them, right? It's just when they bubble to the
Yep.
surface. And side note, some things are actually fact in
And
business,
and
not
and
limiting belief.
they're not limited. And some things are there for a damn good reason, right? Like stoves are hot, and that
Yes.
hurts, right? Like
Yes.
there's legit, like, we think of these limiting beliefs as these sort of as you put it before, like these amorphic things we've applied to it. Some of them are real. Like
Yes.
when you jump off the building, gravity pulls you down, and you could break an ankle. Like these are legit limiting beliefs. Human beings without serious help can't fly,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I had a mindset coach many years ago, and I remember it was when I was building an email list, and I said to her, she's like, "So what's going on? What's the problem?" I said, "Oh, building an email list is hard." She goes, "Psh, that's not a limiting belief, that's a fact." She
That's
said,
it.
"Now, how you show up in that fact
I love it.
allows there to be ease in building your list.
Beautiful.
Who you are being in that fact."
Right.
So, as entrepreneurs, we're gamblers, we're risk takers. We're
Yes.
already taking risks. When you're telling yourself that this next external strategy is too risky, oh, I can't invest in ads, I can't do this, I
Mm.
can't do that. And this
Mhm.
is I'm talking, in general,
Yep.
right?
Broad strokes here.
you
Yep.
you get to ask yourself, what have I made this particular risk, quote unquote, mean? Because I'm already a gambler if I'm an entrepreneur. Like, this is inherent, right?
Yeah.
So what am I making it mean to take this next level of risk, to take this next, right? I'm giving it
Mm-hmm.
more, it's going to be more of a loss than a gain. And so we just get to reverse engineer the habits, the disempowered habits, from, okay, this is the habit. Okay, who am I being in it, and what's the thought around it? Because the thought is where I gave it meaning.
Right.
And so then we get to go, oh, that's a limiting belief. Look at how I'm showing up here. And we get to get real curious. We don't even need to know why. We forget
Mm.
why I decided this limiting belief.
Yeah. It
Now
doesn't
we get
really
to,
matter.
it
Yeah.
doesn't. Now we get to say, what do I get to do differently?
Yeah.
Who can help me move past this? Where can I allow in more solution than problem? And we get to just
Mm.
start getting real curious about it.
I love it. I love it. It's it just, this analogy just dawned on me that so many people focus on the why, including entrepreneurs. Like we are not. We're human beings. We're focusing on why something became there or why something got there. But that's kind of like the guy standing there on the outside of his lawn going, why are all these dandelions here? And looking around at the weather and looking at his neighbor's yard and trying to go, where did all this? In the meantime, there's more dandelions growing, and he has spent weeks trying to examine and research, where are the dandelions? Why are they all here? The fact is, they're weeds, my man. They're limiting beliefs. They just show up because it makes life simpler for our brain to comprehend.
Yeah, it stops us, right?
Right?
It
That's right.
protects us. Limiting beliefs
Keeps
protect us.
keeps you
Yes.
in your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
own your comfort zone, like we were talking about, and that's why they get established. Why they get there is so not relevant to how you're going to be rid of them or whether you want to be rid of this particular one at all, right? And then just making the decision to move forward. I think we get some people are so stuck, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else, and going, how did I get here? Why did I get here? What happened? Who cares? Like, where do you want to go? Because in the end, that's the only thing that's going to matter.
Yes. Yes. When I love the question why, is going 7 whys deep, is ask yourself why
You want it.
anytime you're casting your
Yeah.
dream,
Yeah.
anytime you're setting a goal,
Right.
anytime you're striving towards something, ask yourself why. Because we want it to be so compelling. We want to get to the core of why this is so important to us.
Yeah. You've
Any
got to
other time,
attach that big dream to a part of you that means something.
yes,
Right? If you're really striving for something, then you have to bolt it onto you somehow, right? And that's
Exactly.
that's why the why is relevant. Love it.
And the reason that why doesn't serve us when it's about anything else except our goals and our dreams is because the moment we ask the question why, we tell a story that starts with because.
Hmm.
We go right into a story, and there's no
Yeah.
shame in the story. It's just a fact. We go into a story, we make excuses
Yep.
and reasons why.
Yeah.
Why are the dandelions here? Well, because the neighbor did this and the rain did that and the gardener did this and
Correct.
the
Yeah.
store was out of fertile of roundup and this and that. We go into this big story
Totally. Yeah.
about it instead of there's dandelions here. Well, what can I do to get rid of them?
Well, how can
How
I?
can I
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
differently? Who do I get to be to get rid of most of these dandelions? Like they're just the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. And so we just
Yep.
need to start asking better questions.
And I love that. And I think as entrepreneurs, there's this, and as business owners, the great part, my friends, is that your leverage point for what those questions value towards you is tremendous, right? The wealth in relationships and the wealth in your time flexibility and your sense of purpose and your goals that you can achieve, the richness of your life is leveraged significantly as a business owner when you start to ask these questions. And it is different than, I think, a pure employee, because there is a financial upside to asking these questions for yourself and a level of personal control over your life that isn't always the same for people that are working a 9 to 5 job. And it's not to say there isn't huge value for them asking too. It's just different. And I think that's one of the appeals of business ownership, but it's also one of the massive risks, is that, as you said, we're putting a lot on the line. We're gamblers, right? We're going to take our time. We're going to invest in something we don't know whether it's going to work or not. And when we get stuck, we tend to go through the dandelion routine. Why am I stuck? Instead of
Yes,
how do I get unstuck?
exactly.
Yeah.
What makes me believe that I can't get unstuck?
Yes.
Like you get to ask the question just in a better way. And
Yeah.
so that everyone knows as well, we even 6 figure, 7 figure, 8 figure entrepreneurs, they deal with limiting beliefs. They deal with
Sure.
self-sabotaging habits as well. They're different. They get through like new level, new devil. And
Yep.
they find this new meaning that they've given to something that they haven't examined, if ever, because
Yeah.
we
If
give
ever. Yep.
meaning like this so quickly and we don't think about it and then there it is. And then it's the filter for all kinds of things. Someone cuts you
Yeah.
off in traffic. Most of us think, "Oh, what a jerk." Maybe even worse. Maybe we even
Yeah.
think something worse. And we don't stop and go, "Wait a minute. I've cut someone off in traffic before. I'm not mostly a jerk. I'm mostly a really cool human." And so
Mostly.
maybe I could give a more empowered meaning
Hmm.
to this, and I could have a better filter. I could have a
Yeah.
filter that's allowing me to see more expansion, more possibility, more
Yeah.
solution, as opposed to such a laser. Oh, someone cuts me off in traffic, it means they're a jerk, and that's it. That's that. There's no. It's black and white. There's nothing else there.
Totally. And what I think that example is so good at too, Mindy, is that we don't always have to also give anything meaning,
Yeah.
right? Just as we're empowering this particular event with all this meaning, there's dandelions in my lawn. What is it? Also doesn't really matter. Like, in the end, deal with it or don't deal with it. Like, I think it's important that we define what is actually meaningful, and that gets back to your, from a very first, when we started our conversation today, about going, what are you here for?
Mm.
Like, what is the big dream? What is the big goal? I have found in my life that when I'm giving meaning to things like being cut off in traffic, it's because I've lost my big direction.
Mm.
Right? I've lost my, and sometimes that big direction, to be all honest, is just being the best dad I can be that day,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else just fades. But if I'm not making being a great dad a priority, and my daughter hears me cursing up a storm about some guy cutting me off in traffic, then I'm not fulfilling what is the actual objective here, which is to be the best dad. You know what I mean? Like I think we can give things meaning just out of boredom and laziness and lack of other perspective that don't really need to have any meaning whatsoever.
Yes. So many times, data is just data.
Just data. Yeah.
It's just
It's like
data.
our brains. 2 million pieces of information coming in, and your brain's going, you only need these three, man, at this moment. That's all you need. The rest of it,
Exactly.
we're taken care of. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay, Mindy, this has been tremendous. I want to say thank you so much on behalf of myself, and thank you so much on behalf of my audience. So, last couple questions for you. Last couple
Yes.
questions.
Yes.
Okay, first off, we are 12 months from today. It is March the 6th, 2025. What has Mindy accomplished in the last 12 months?
Oh. I love this question. Uh, Personally and professionally, I'm
Okay.
like, my brain is like, oh, well, how much do you want to know what Mindy's accomplished? Like,
Let's
woo, this
open
is
up the
so
box. Ding, ding,
awesome.
ding, ding.
Yeah. God, I love this question.
Okay, here we go.
So,
Ready? Here we go.
yes. Per- Ta-da! Professionally, I have launched a group program at least 2 more times.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
And that's already happened once this quarter, and so that's already in the plan for going on for the rest of the year, as well as raised my visibility to a level that
Mhm.
again is in my plans this year by things like this, connecting with like-minded people, collaborating, bringing value to their audiences to really raise the visibility. One of the things that I said to myself at the beginning of this year was, I am no longer the best kept secret in my industry. Right?
Mm.
Like, it's
Mhm.
time to raise the levels of awareness and visibility and really let people know how powerful they are and how they can shift things so massively to just truly like create something that they really want to show up in and become the human who. Yeah. So that those things, you'll see those things. Also, there'll be at least 2 more vacations personally.
I got it. Are you back? I'm back.
I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I got you.
Okay.
So I missed the personal one because my I don't know whether it was my connection or your connection went a little haywire. So just recap the personal one for us.
Yeah, yes. Personally, I'll be vacationing at least 3 times by the time by March of next year. That is part of my plan that
Do you
supports
know where
me.
you're going yet? Do you have your
Well,
destination?
next week I'm going to Mexico, yes, and then in November again to Mexico, and definitely California will be in that mix because I'm from Southern California originally. So
Okay.
I'll be visiting
Well,
my
we got to
sister.
drag you up to Canada at some point here, maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have
Vancouver,
clients in Canada.
beautiful.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And then my last and final question for you is: can we get you back on the show?
Oh my
Would you like
gosh,
to
yes,
listen?
I would absolutely love that. Yes,
Okay,
please.
perfect. Without any poop disasters getting in the way on my side or any of those other crazy things, we'll just find a good spot.
Well, we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best.
For
Because
those who are watching at the end of the show, they'll be like, "What the heck is he talking about?" Yeah,
while you have influence over that, like I
yeah,
don't know that you can actually control the pipes.
that's true. That's true. All right, Mindy, it's been so awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been a huge slice. So you can say goodbye to the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put Mindy's contact information across the bottom here. So if you want to contact her, you can find her at Mindi mindihuebner.com. And she is, as you can tell, a profoundly impactful and amazing person. So if you are ready to start digging into this coconut of yours and finding out how to rewire that sucker for some amazing success, then contact Mindy, because she is effective and very powerful at what she does. Through a combination of different tactics and tools and strategies, she helps get in there and help you rewire yourself for success and wealth. So thank you so much for watching this episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. I have been Michael Bridgman. She was Mindi Huebner. You have been awesome, and this has been another episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. Ciao for now.